Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, Israel issues new evacuation orders for southern Gaza. The US approves more than $20 billion of weapons sales to Israel. Ukraine advances deeper into Russia's Kursk region. The US calls Ukraine's incursion a dilemma for Vladimir Putin. Japan's Prime Minister Kishida to step down in September, says won't run for re-election for party leadership. And on the Partition horrors Remembrance Day, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi reiterates his government's commitment to protect unity and brotherhood. In a significant escalation of the Gaza conflict, Israel's military launched a large-scale operation in southern and central Gaza, killing multiple Hamas operatives and destroying key military infrastructure over the last 24 hours. The operation targeted strategic sites including sniper posts, missile launch sites and other military installations, with warplanes striking at least 40 targets in a bid to weaken the Hamas's military capabilities. The Israeli military has ordered more people living in Khan Yunis to evacuate immediately. They've released an updated color-coded map of Gaza, which shows more blocks that need to be evacuated. Now, this is part of their strategy to deal with Hamas, who they believe are hiding among civilians and launching attacks from residential areas. The United States has approved the sale of fighter jets and other military equipment worth $20 billion to Israel. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has approved the sale of military equipment, including fighter jets, tank cartridges, explosive mortar cartridges, and vehicles to Israel. Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant thanked U.S. officials for helping Israel maintain its qualitative military edge in the region and U.S. commitment to Israel's security. Earlier this week, Washington, D.C. released $3.5 billion to Israel to spend on U.S. weapons and military equipment in line with a legislation. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has postponed his trip to West Asia, which was scheduled to start on Tuesday. Blinken's trip to West Asia, originally set to precede the 15th August Gaza ceasefire talks, has been delayed after a sudden escalation of violence marked by Hamas launching 2 rockets at Tel Aviv on Tuesday, a move not seen in months. U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Linda Thomas-Greenfield has said that the U.S. is pushing for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, including the release of hostages, in an effort to reduce tensions and prevent a broader regional conflict.
The United States' overall goal remains to turn the temperature down in the region, deter and defend against any future attacks, and avoid regional conflict. That starts with finalizing a deal for an immediate ceasefire with hostage release in Gaza. We need to get this over the finish line. Again, we urge every member of this council to say clearly and unequivocally that it is time to finalize and implement this agreement.
And joining me from Tel Aviv is my colleague Sarah Coates. Sarah, Israel has issued one of the largest evacuation orders for Khan Yunis since October. What more can you tell us about the situation in Gaza and the West Bank?
Hello there, Ramesh. Well, this is, of course, coming after that incident you spoke about yesterday. A number of rockets fired toward Tel Aviv yesterday. One of these did not clear that border fence. The other one landing in the sea just behind me. Long-range rockets, they were claimed by Hamas, and according to the Israeli military, they were actually fired from a place in Khan Yunis, which has now been evacuated. Now, according to the Israeli military, forces have killed a number of Hamas fighters over the past 24 hours, also destroyed infrastructure in southern and central Gaza, including sniper posts and rocket launching sites. So still a lot of military activity going on in many parts of the Gaza Strip, with people told to move to these so-called humanitarian areas like Al-Mawasi, although they say there's really not enough room for the sheer amount of people in these evacuation areas. Now, separately, in the West Bank, raids are ongoing now in the northern part of the West Bank. We do understand there have been clashes between IDF forces and Palestinian gunmen, with a drone strike killing at least 5 people. That is according to Palestinian sources. So certainly fighting happening not just in the Gaza Strip, not just in the West Bank, but we also do need to remember that rockets continue to be launched from southern Lebanon into Israeli territory, with the Israeli forces then hitting sites in southern Lebanon, which they say belong to Hezbollah.
Sarah, do you have an update for us on the Gaza ceasefire talks scheduled for Thursday?
Ramesh, we do understand that these talks are set to go ahead, although it does remain unclear at this hour whether a Hamas delegation will in fact attend. This is despite the US State Department coming out to say that Qatar has assured it that it will have a Hamas delegation on hand. But what we do need to remember here is that Hamas has been saying it only wants to negotiate based on previous talks, not enter into a new round of negotiations. Also saying that Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, that he's actually changed conditions, although Netanyahu's office came out late yesterday to say that nothing's been changed, basically that these are just clarifications. Now, there are a number of sticking points that we do need to remember here. One of those is on the restrictions on people returning to the northern part of the Gaza Strip. Another one is which Palestinian prisoners will be released in exchange for Israeli hostages. And then, of course, there is the continued Israeli presence on the Philadelphia corridor and also the Rafah border crossing. So certainly a lot to get through. We do understand, of course, that these key mediators like the Egyptians, the Qataris, they're really trying to push these warring parties to come to a deal amid a lot of fear that if a deal isn't reached, that Iran may actually attack Israel very soon.
Sarah, thank you. Appreciate it. Sarah Coates reporting there from Tel Aviv. Now, shifting focus from one conflict to another, as the Russia-Ukraine conflict enters its 901st day on Wednesday, here are the main developments of the day. Russia's defense ministry said its air defenses destroyed 117 drones and 4 tactical missiles launched overnight by Ukraine. 37 drones and missiles were destroyed over the Kursk region, while 37 drones were destroyed over the Voronezh region, among others. The governor of Voronezh said that there were no casualties, but several residential houses were damaged. Meanwhile, a soccer match to be played on the 18th of August in Voronezh has since been moved to Moscow. The governor of Russia's border region of Belgorod declared a region-wide state of emergency on Wednesday, citing continued attacks by Ukraine. He said that daily shelling by Ukraine had destroyed houses, killing and wounding civilians. US President Joe Biden has said that his officials are in constant touch with Ukrainians. He said that Ukraine's military incursion into Russia has created a dilemma for Russia's President Vladimir Putin. About 1,000 Ukrainian troops rammed through the Russian border in the early hours of 6th August with tanks and armored vehicles. Answering questions from reporters upon arrival in the city of New Orleans, Biden said he has been briefed every 4 to 5 hours for the last 6 or 8 days on Ukraine. The US has provided weaponry worth billions of dollars to Ukraine, intended largely for defensive purposes as Ukraine tries to repel Russian invasion. In the month of May, Biden had authorized Kiev to launch US-supplied weapons at military targets inside Russia that are supporting an offensive on the northeastern Ukrainian city of Kharkiv. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky's chief of staff discussed battlefield situation and security agreements with a visiting U.S. Assistant Secretary of State in Kyiv on Wednesday. President Zelensky said that 74 settlements are under the control of Ukraine in the Kursk region, the result of a Ukrainian cross-border operation. Zelensky said that his forces continue to advance into the Kursk region and take Russian prisoners. Ukraine said that its forces are now controlling 1,000 square kilometers of Russia's territory. U.S. State Department's deputy spokesperson Vedant Patel has said that the U.S. was not engaged in any aspect of planning or preparation for Ukraine's incursion in Russia.
Ukraine is defending itself from that aggression. This has been Kremlin's war of aggression from the start against Ukraine, pure and simple. And I just want to reiterate what some others across the administration have said, which is that we were not engaged in any aspect or planning or preparation for this operation. I will let the Ukrainian military speak to their own operations, but our role and what we are focused on is supporting Ukraine be able to defend itself.
And joining me from Moscow is my colleague Dasha Chernyshova. Dasha, is Ukraine making new incursions into Russia's Kursk region while holding on to the territories it has seized?
Well, what we have heard from the Russian military commanders is that the Russian troops have mostly destroyed all of the equipment that the Ukrainian troops have brought with them to the Kursk region. We also understand from the reports in the Russian media citing those military commanders that Russians do have control over Sudzha. This is the town on the border where this incursion began. The Russian authorities in the Kursk region at the same time have also said that the evacuations of people will continue. Some of the residents of Tyotkina, which is the village on the border with Ukraine, have been evacuated, and the governor has shown some of the videos in his Telegram channel earlier today. We also have heard the Russian Ministry of Defense saying that they continue to strike the Ukrainian military concentrations of the manpower as well as equipment in the Kursk region. So all in all, the understanding is that the Russians are still trying to squeeze the Ukrainian troops out. At the same time, in the neighboring region of Belgorod, the authorities have introduced the regional state of emergency, saying that the situation has been tense actually over the past months already, saying that the Ukrainian shelling has always been threatening the lives of the civilian population. So the authorities are going also to appeal to the Russian authorities to introduce the federal emergency in that area. So certainly the situation is yet to be over, but at the same time the Russians are maintaining that they do have now the control over those territories that were previously occupied by the Ukrainian troops as they have made their incursion.
Another question that's that's being asked about in various capitals is this: will it harden negotiating positions in Kyiv and or Moscow?
Well, with regard to that, it's interesting to see the latest comments coming from Russia suggesting that the plot of the Ukrainian incursion was to enter the city of Kurchatov, where the Kursk nuclear power plant is located. And they suggest that after this goal was supposed to be accomplished, Ukraine would have been asking for the negotiations, and that would have certainly improved their negotiating positions. At the same time, the Russian Foreign Ministry representatives have also said on Wednesday that this incursion by Ukraine has put on long hold any prospects of ceasefire negotiations.
Dasha, we leave it there. Dasha Chernyshova reporting there from Moscow. And still to come on DD India News Hour. An update on the situation in Bangladesh. Thailand's constitutional court removes Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin from office over a constitution breach. And the US military conducts live fire drills in South Korea to test its readiness.
We have with us a very special guest, Olympic bronze medalist Swapnil Kusale. When we talk about you and your journey from TTE to an Olympic bronze medalist,
journey is quite long and lots of challenges I faced, but it's a good journey for me till now, so I'm happy.
you got a call from Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
He called and say Namaskar Bahu, kaise aap, like in Marathi language, so it was good to hear that.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. In news just coming in from Thailand, Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin has been removed by the country's constitutional court. This is the news we are breaking here on DD India News Hour. Thailand's constitutional court on Wednesday removed Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin from office in less than a year, saying that Srettha Thavisin has breached ethical rules. The Thai Prime Minister is dismissed for appointing to his cabinet a former lawyer who once served jail time. The ruling could push the country into deeper political uncertainty. To avoid upheaval, the parliament must convene to choose a new Prime Minister. Now, moving on, Bangladesh's former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has called for a probe into killings and vandalism in the country last month. In a first comment after violent protests forced her to flee to India on the 5th of August, Hasina demanded action against those involved in the unrest. She said that many people died in the name of revolution in the country. In July, nearly 300 people died in the demonstrations that began as protests against employment quotas were turned into a movement toppling Hasina's government. Hasina's statement was posted on the social media platform X through her son, hours after a Bangladesh court ordered an investigation into her role in the death of a grocery shop owner during the protests. Meanwhile, India is keeping a close watch on the situation in Bangladesh. The Border Security Force has tightened security along the India-Bangladesh border. The BSF is also engaging with the residents of the border villages to enhance cooperation and secure the border. Moving on, people gathered in the U.S. city of Atlanta for a peace vigil and protest march in support of the minorities of Bangladesh. People of all ages participated in the protest, demonstrating the community's concern for the plight of minorities in Bangladesh after the fall of the Sheikh Hasina government there. The event was organized by key figures in Atlanta's Hindu community and was supported by associations and individuals from across the region. The organizers of the protest said that violence in Bangladesh is not an isolated incident. They warned that only a unified global response could prevent similar threats from emerging elsewhere. And joining me is Naval Sangh Parmar. Naval Sangh, what did you make of Sheikh Hasina's open letter to the people of Bangladesh?
Yes, yesterday the appeal called on the people of Bangladesh to observe the mourning day, which is being observed in Bangladesh since last 15 years during the Awami League government on the death anniversary of father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Yesterday, there is another development that the interim government led by the Professor Muhammad Yunus has cancelled the public holiday on 15th of August, which is being observed as a mourning day and on the death anniversary of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. And she appealed people and particularly the Awami League workers and activists to celebrate or observe the mourning day in Bangladesh. And moreover, at the same time, it is the birthday of the Bangladesh Nationalist Party chairperson Khalida Zia. So tomorrow will be the 10th day for the people of Bangladesh and the interim government and other people who are having a interest in Bangladesh. There is a security concern in the Bangladesh for tomorrow as far as tomorrow is concerned. However, the interim government Home Affairs Minister Brigadier retired Sakhawat Hussain made a statement yesterday that the security has been heightened and police and the Rapid Action Battalion and BGP have been deployed, and army will be also vigilant to thwart unwanted incidents in the Bangladesh. So tomorrow is very crucial day for the Bangladesh as well as who are having a watch on Bangladesh. They are also tense what will happen tomorrow. And as I made the statement, and as you mentioned that accused that there should be a proper probe in detail investigation in the matter of killings and murder, what happened during the month of July and during the August. So, in fact, our Bangladesh Nationalist Party also has demanded a detailed probe and UN-led agency monitored probe in Bangladesh. So, all the stakeholders in Bangladesh are now demanding a probe to have a technology, with the use of technology and technical probe in the whatever happened in the last month and during the first week of August.
Nawal Singh, what's your sense? Is law and order returning to Bangladesh? Are police personnel resuming their duties?
Yes, since last 3-4 days the situation improved, but as I mentioned that tomorrow is a very crucial day.
Right.
If 15th August passed peacefully, then the people will take relief and then the assurance given by the interim government will be having a meaning that if they can maintain law and order on 15th August, then it will be there will be a good time for the common people ahead. So that is the cause of tension in Bangladesh. Yes.
All right, we'll leave it there. Nawal Singh Parmar, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Moving on, Kishida Fumio has announced that he will step down as Japan's Prime Minister next month. He's been in the post for 3 years, but recent polls show that his support has fallen to historic lows at around 15%. William Denslow has more.
Fumio Kishida has announced that he will not be standing in next month's party leadership contest, effectively meaning that as of next month he will be stepping down as Japan's Prime Minister.
The
most obvious first step to show that the Liberal Democratic Party will change is for me to step aside. I will not run for the upcoming presidential election. I will continue to support the new leader who will be elected through the presidential election as a comrade. This has been on my mind since the incident first occurred. Now that the diplomatic schedule for the time being has settled, I would like to make a clean break by stepping aside and moving on to support the presidential election.
The announcement comes as Fumio Kishida's approval rating in Japan, according to polling from last month, was down at around 15%, a historic low for a Japanese Prime Minister. This comes as Fumio Kishida's party, the Liberal Democratic Party, has been fighting corruption allegations that have really weighed on their popularity at home. The LDP has been accused of corruption, really stemming from allegations that some of its members failed to disclose the amounts received from fundraising events. That has seriously hurt Fumio Kishida's leadership, as he, for the last 3 years, has tried to shepherd Japan out of the COVID-19 pandemic, and he's also sought to improve ties with South Korea. He's also been a big proponent of trying to build the economy from the bottom up and the middle out, rather than trickle-down economics. His decision to stand down does not mean that this will trigger a general election. A general election has to be held in Japan by next October At the very latest, it'll be another member of the LDP to take the reins until people across Japan go to the polls, likely next year. The successor for Fumio Kishida will have the unenviable task of trying to battle economic headwinds that Japan is facing, as well as a really rather tricky geopolitical landscape too. William Denslow in Hong Kong reporting for DD India.
And staying in the region, the US military conducted live fire drills in South Korea on Wednesday to test their deployment readiness on the Korean peninsula. The drills took place at Rodriguez Live Fire Complex in Pocheon, north of Seoul, near a heavily fortified border with North Korea. This temporary deployment comes in addition to the nearly 30,000 US troops that are stationed in South Korea as part of efforts to deter nuclear-armed North Korea. South Korea and the United States are set to begin annual summertime military drills next week to ramp up their capabilities to counter North Korea's weapons and cyber threats. The Ulchi Freedom Shield exercise comes as North Korea continues to develop its nuclear and missile programs. The exercise will be conducted from the 19th to the 29th of August. The drills are expected to reflect realistic threats across all domains, including the North's missile threats, GPS jamming and cyber attacks. The drill is said to be among the largest exercises in the Indo-Pacific, which will be joined by member states of the United Nations Command. Shifting focus to the U.S., where firebrand U.S. lawmaker Ilhan Omar won the Democratic Party's nomination with over 56% vote for a fourth term in the state of Minnesota on Tuesday. She beat former City Council member Dawn Samuels. Her fundraising campaign played a significant role in her victory. Omar said that she has delivered millions of dollars in government funds for community development in her constituency. U.S. President Joe Biden has announced on Tuesday a $150 million government investment to develop technology that will help surgeons more effectively remove cancerous tumors. This funding is the latest boost to Biden's Cancer Moonshot, a program led by Biden and his wife aimed at reducing U.S. cancer death rate by at least half by 2047. During his visit to the city of New Orleans, Biden emphasized the importance of data sharing in transforming the fight against cancer.
Today, we're announcing $150 million ARPA-H funding for some of the nation's cutting-edge cancer research institutions. That includes right here at Tulane University. We just met with one of your research teams and we saw 3D views of tumors. It's incredible. It's a roadmap doctors can follow during surgery, unlike anything they've seen before. And right now, surgeons determine how to remove cancerous cells and protect vital organs, nerves, and blood vessels without a clear view of them. There's still more to do, but we know we can do it.
The Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has declared Mpox a public health emergency. Since July, the viral illness, formerly known as monkeypox, has spread rapidly across the African continent. The African Union confirms close to 2,900 cases of Mpox and more than 500 deaths, especially in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Isabel Nakiria reports from Uganda.
The Africa CDC is urging strong measures to combat Mpox, which has now spread to at least 13 countries on the continent. The viral disease is transmitted through physical contact and causes flu-like symptoms, as well as pus-filled rashes on the body. Most cases are mild but have potential to be deadly. The declaration will allow for resources to be accessed in affected countries, unlocking important funding, improving risk communication, and increasing disease surveillance. Laboratory testing activities will be boosted, including human resource capabilities to effectively manage Mpox. According to the Africa CDC, the continent needs more than 10 million doses of vaccines, but only 200,000 are currently available. The UN World Health Organization is convening its emergency committee on Wednesday to determine if a public health emergency of international concern should be declared. Isabel Nakiria in Kampala reporting for DD India.
Greece's worst wildfire of the year has damaged homes, vehicles and other properties in the capital Athens. The fire was brought under control on Tuesday after killing one and damaging landscapes across towns. After 3 days of burning, residents were left with no place to go. Around 10,000 hectares of land has been damaged as per Greece's National Observatory. The government has announced a compensation and relief measures for victims of the fire. Still to come on DD India News Hour. India will mark its first National Space Day on 23rd August. India's President Draupadi Murmu to address the nation on the eve of the country's 78th Independence Day. And India's campaign to encourage people to hoist the national flag at their home peaks on the eve of the country's Independence Day. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Now, 14th August is the anniversary of the Partition Horrors Remembrance Day in India. It was in 2021 that Prime Minister Narendra Modi gave a call to mark the occasion when India's colonial rulers decided to announce and implement the partition of a unified India into two countries, India and Pakistan, on the 15th of August. The decision not only led to the biggest displacement ever in human history, but also led to riots, rapes and other crimes. Gautam Roy reports from New Delhi.
The 14th of August 1947, a date recorded in the pages of history in infamy as it crossed all limits of inhumanity, cruelty and barbarism. The partition of a unified India into two independent nations of Bharat and Pakistan remains a painful scar of its colonial past. Official records say communal clashes during the throes of partition claimed over 1 million lives. 55,000 Hindu and Sikh women were either abducted or raped. The tussle between Muhammad Ali Jinnah and the Congress party leadership at that time led to the partition of India.
It's one of the biggest tragedies in written history. There were countless murders of innocents who were not at fault at all. 4 people sat around a table and decided their fate without their having any say in it. This was not displacement, it was a massacre. Only the lucky survived, but even after having survived, they lost their parents, brothers, sisters, everything. They were left alone in this world. This cannot be termed displacement at all.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi gave a call in 2021 to mark Partition Horrors Remembrance Day on the 14th of August to pay tribute to all those who lost their lives and were displaced from their roots due to India's partition. The aim was to make the current and future generations more aware of the painful memories associated with the partition.
अब से हर वर्ष 14 अगस्त को विभाजन विभीषिका स्मृति दिवस के रूप में याद किया जाएगा। जो लोग विभाजन के समय अमानवीय हालात से गुजरे, जिन्होंने अत्याचार सहे, जिन्हें सम्मान के साथ अंतिम संस्कार तक नसीब नहीं हुआ, उन लोगों का हमारी स्मृतियों में जीवित रहना भी उतना ही जरूरी है।
The present central government has also done the work of preserving the memories of the horrors of partition. It has made the effort to ensure that these memories are never forgotten and live on from generation to generation in the form of a memorial. The younger generation is also taking pains to connect itself with this endeavor, to learn about the mistakes of the past so that they're never repeated and the nation remains united.
I want that our younger generation should remember the sacrifices made by our freedom fighters and our forefathers.
There are things here which we hadn't read about in our textbooks. Everything is explained and depicted very vividly, and it tells us all about the painful experiences people went through in that phase.
The partition led to the largest displacement in human history in the world, impacting over 20 million people. People had to leave their ancestral homes and other assets behind. Millions crossed borders to settle down as refugees and rebuild their lives from scratch. The wounds of the cleaving of the nation are still fresh in the minds of many such sufferers.
Whenever I recall what happened at that time, I get goosebumps. My head starts to spin and my eyes well up with tears.
Along with the nation's independence came the pain of partition. But the way it unfolded, the kind of circumstances it created, cannot be recounted.
The pain of the nation's partition can never be forgotten. While celebrating its independence, a grateful nation also pays homage to those sons and daughters of the motherland who lost their lives in the frenzy of retribution following the partition. Gautam Roy, DD India.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi said on X, and I quote, "On Partition Horrors Remembrance Day, we recall the countless people who were impacted and greatly suffered due to the horrors of partition. It is also a day to pay tributes to their courage, which illustrates the power of human resilience. A lot of those impacted by partition went on to rebuild their lives and attain immense success. Today, we also reiterate our commitment to always protect the bonds of unity and brotherhood in our nation," unquote. Home Minister Amit Shah said on Partition Horrors Remembrance Day, "My homage to the millions who suffered inhumane pains, lost lives, turned homeless during this most hideous episode of our history. Only a nation that remembers its history can build its future and emerge as a powerful entity. Observing this day is a foundational exercise in the process of nation building under the leadership of PM Narendra Modi." External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, for his part, said the partition was an act whose human consequences matched its geopolitical ones. On Partition Horrors Remembrance Day, we pay our tribute to all those who endured unimaginable pain and suffering. India's President Draupadi Murmu will address the nation on the eve of the country's 78th Independence Day. The speech will be broadcast at 7 p.m., that is 13:30 GMT, on Doordarshan and Akashvani. Doordarshan is India's state-owned television network. Akashvani is India's public radio service. The President's address will initially be aired in Hindi, followed by an English version. Thereafter, regional language broadcasts will be presented by Doordarshan's regional channels, ensuring that the President's message reaches as many people as is possible. Akashvani will broadcast regional language versions of the address at 9:30 p.m., that is 1600 GMT, on its regional networks. From currency notes to government schemes, Mahatma Gandhi's legacy continues to shape modern India. This report by DD India's Anu Kaushik tells us about the role the father of the nation played in the Indian independence movement.
9th January 1915 marked a watershed moment in the Indian freedom struggle when Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi returned to India after successfully spearheading a civil rights movement in South Africa. The subsequent years saw him emerge as the leader of the freedom struggle, eventually culminating into the country's independence from the British in 1947. Upon his return, Gandhi undertook a journey of India on the advice of his mentor Gopal Krishna Gokhale. In 1917, Gandhi launched Satyagraha, a form of civil resistance movement to fight for the rights of indigo farmers in Champaran in the present-day Bihar state. This was only the stepping stone for Gandhi. Indians from all walks of life joined his campaign, which was based on ahimsa or non-violence, satyagraha and non-cooperation. Gandhi, who was honored with the title of Mahatma or the Great Soul, was vocal about issues that resonated with ordinary Indians. The Dandi March or the Salt Satyagraha was a testament to this. In 1930, Gandhi, along with 78 volunteers, led a march to the coastal town of Dandi in Gujarat. Over the course of more than 20 days, thousands of people joined the march, which saw Gandhi break the salt law imposed by the British. With the call for do or die in 1942, Mahatma Gandhi launched the Quit India movement to end the colonial rule in India. The British responded with a brutal crackdown. Gandhi and other independence leaders, along with thousands of ordinary Indians, were jailed. When Gandhi was released in 1944, the British were in talks with the Muslim League for the partition of India based on religious lines. Gandhi vehemently opposed the partition. When communal violence broke out, he travelled across riot-hit areas calling for peace. On 30th January 1948, Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the nation, was assassinated. To say that this was the end of an era would be an understatement.
From Martin Luther King Jr. to Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi has influenced leaders across the globe. Decades after independence, he continues to inspire Indians. His ideas like self-sufficient economy not only remain relevant but are intrinsic to India. With camera person Naveen Kumar, this is Anu Kaushik reporting for DD India.
As India celebrates its 78th Independence Day, it's time to celebrate many firsts and milestones the country has achieved in various domains. India's tremendous space surge is marked by two remarkable missions, Chandrayaan-3 and Aditya L1. The successful launch of Chandrayaan-3 made India the first nation in the world to successfully land on the south pole of the moon. And Aditya L1, India's first space-based mission to study the sun, is also making strides. Sakal Bhatt reports from New Delhi.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
14th July 2023. This date marks India's successful soft landing near the moon's south pole, establishing India as the first one to achieve this remarkable feat. The feat of landing a spacecraft in such proximity to the lunar south pole. Chandrayaan-3 is India's third lunar mission and second attempt at achieving soft landing on the moon's surface. On July 14, 2023 at 2:35 p.m., Chandrayaan took off from Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota. The spacecraft seamlessly entered lunar orbit on 5th of August 2023. The historic moment unfolded when the lander made a successful touchdown near the lunar south pole on August 23, 2023. Chandrayaan-3 is a three-component mission consisting of propulsion module, lander module and rover module. Successful launch of Chandrayaan-3 resulted in major findings of the mission. Chandra's surface thermophysical experiment measured temperatures reaching 70 degrees centigrade. Chandrayaan-3 is significant for the Indian space program, undoubtedly. It makes India part of the elite group of nations, Russia, the US and China, with demonstrated lunar soft landing capability, showcasing its leadership in space technology, including positioning India as a global hub in the new space economy. The reusable launch vehicle technology aids in cost reduction for future launches as well. Within 2 months of achieving a spectacular feat of landing at closest proximity of moon, Indian space scientists took another giant leap. It was time to get as close to the sun. September 2nd, 2023 marked yet another major breakthrough accomplishment for ISRO with the launching of Aditya L1 from Satish Dhawan Space Center at Sriharikota. Aditya L1 is the first Indian mission to study the sun from space, designed to study the sun's dynamics. Aditya L1 spacecraft is equipped with 7 payloads that will observe the sun's photosphere chromosphere. The mission aims to provide valuable insights into the sun's behavior, which will help scientists better understand space weather and its impact on Earth. Aditya L1 spacecraft was inserted in its targeted halo orbit on January 6, 2024. And after a journey of 127 days, the spacecraft reached the L1 point approximately 15 lakh kilometers from Earth. On July 2nd, Aditya L1 spacecraft completed its first halo orbit around the sun, a complex maneuver that required precise navigation and control. Aditya L1 instruments will provide valuable data to help scientists understand sun behavior better. India's groundbreaking mission Chandrayaan-3 uncovering moon's long-guarded secret in Aditya L1 helping discover sun's various dimensions, thus setting the tone for India's mega space movement. As India celebrates its 78th Independence Day, its space prowess continues to cruise ahead to rule skies and beyond. Sakal Bhatt's report for TT India.
And Indians are joining the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign that encourages people to hoist the national flag at their home. Home Minister Amit Shah on Wednesday hoisted the flag at his residence in New Delhi. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath hoisted the flag at his residence in Lucknow and took a selfie with it. He also celebrated the occasion by announcing the commencement of a motorcycle rally in Lucknow. The Border Security Force on Wednesday organized a similar bike rally at Krishnanagar in West Bengal. The Har Ghar Tiranga Abhiyan is a nationwide campaign launched in 2022. It's created employment opportunities for thousands of women. India's Secretary of Culture Govind Mohan said that the initiative gave birth to a new industry driven by women at the grassroots level, reducing reliance on large vendors. Today, self-help groups have become the primary producers of the national flag. To further support the initiative, the government has procured national flags from large vendors and distributed approximately 7.5 crore flags to states directly and through the post offices. The global Bio-India, one of the largest conglomerates of biotechnology stakeholders, is back with its fourth edition from the 12th to the 14th of September in New Delhi. At a curtain raiser event held in New Delhi on Wednesday, Minister Jitendra Singh said India's bioeconomy is growing at a double-digit rate year on year, and Global Bio-India 2024 is an opportunity to showcase the best of Indian biotechnology innovation ecosystem to the world.
Global Bio-India 2024 conference is going to be held, will provide the world bio-vision for the future. And that bio-vision will essentially be India-inspired. And the same bio-vision will also lay the foundation of what Prime Minister keeps reiterating, Viksit Bharat.
India's security forces recovered ammunition, an M4 rifle and rucksacks in an operation in Doordarshan district of Jammu and Kashmir. The operation was launched after a brief exchange of fire between the security forces and terrorists on Tuesday evening local time in the dense forests of Assar, where the terrorists were hiding. The special forces have been deployed to aid the ongoing anti-terror operation. 3 terrorists are believed to be hiding in a riverine area in the Assar forest. And now take a look at what else is making news in India. India's premier investigating agency CBI has taken over the case of a woman doctor's rape and murder from the West Bengal police. On Tuesday, the Kolkata High Court had directed the CBI regarding the same. A 4-member CBI team along with forensic and medical experts is investigating the case. India's top court on Wednesday denied interim bail to Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal in connection with a liquor policy scam. The court issued a notice to the CBI and scheduled the next hearing of the case to 23rd of August. On 23rd August, India will mark its first National Space Day to celebrate the success of Chandrayaan-3's historic moon landing. The roots of the country's space program can be traced back to the vision of Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, who is known as the father of India's space program. And now to news from the world of sport. President Draupadi Murmu is set to meet India's Paris Olympics contingent at her official residence in New Delhi on Wednesday. India finished with 6 medals. 117 Indian athletes participated at the Games across 16 sports. The 6 medals were won by Manu Bhaker, Sarabjot Singh, Neeraj Chopra, Aman Sherawat, Swapnil Kusale and the men's hockey team. The Paris Olympics will also be remembered for as many as 6 fourth-place finishes for India. Come August, the skies above India's capital New Delhi are littered with colourful kites. Kite flying, especially on Independence Day, is not just a hobby, it's a tradition. Nupur Praveen explores the back alleys of the old city to bring us this special report.
In the narrow alleys of Old Delhi, a world of vibrant shades takes shape. Amid the soaring spirit of independence, the August sky comes alive with multicolored kites swaying and dancing across the horizon, emphasizing the sentiments of freedom. Delhi's kite flying tradition is not recent. It dates back centuries to the Mughal era, when Emperor Shah Jahan introduced this Persian art form. The tradition continues as an integral part of the subcontinent's culture.
Kite flying may be a hobby or a sport in most parts of India, but for people in Old Delhi, it is an emotion that is on full display every year on 15th August, that is our Independence Day.
These local kite shops are a hub of activity as citizens prepare for Independence Day.
We put the kite shop for 15 days every year during this time. People come from far and wide to buy kites. This part of Delhi is called Lal Kuan and is famous for its kite market.
I'm the 3rd generation, while my son is the 4th generation running a kite shop.
Delhi's Kite Festival is unlike anywhere else. Following the flag hoisting ceremony at Red Fort, the city's skies are filled with kites.
During the freedom struggle, kite flying put on a different spin, one of defiance against foreign rule. Kites were laced with slogans: Simon go back, quit India, Jai Hind, soared high in the heart of Delhi. And across the hinterland, the British would crack down. Kites with anti-colonial slogans were banned, but that couldn't suppress the patriotic spirit.
78 years pehle
These are celebrations of our freedom struggle.
We are celebrating freedom.
To date, these kites are a reminder of the spirit, grit and glory of our freedom struggle.
For a country as diverse as India, everyone has their unique ways of celebrating our independence. For people of Delhi, it's the kites that sing the sweetest song of liberty. So do check out the skies as people of Delhi celebrate our 78th Independence Day in their unique way. With camera person Saurav Bakshi, this is Nupur Praveen reporting for DD India in Delhi.
And before we close, an eyewitness captured the northern lights illuminating the night sky over the US state of New Jersey on Monday. Sky watchers all over the world are awed by the dazzling night skies in different cities. It's believed that geomagnetic storms triggered by solar flares produce these spectacular displays as an after effect. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of DD India News Up. You can get all the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. It's available on Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download it. And let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website ddindia.co.in. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Ramesh Ramachandran. All of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.